let's talk about freight brokers and how to deal with them. Now, this is geared generally towards individuals who are new to booking freight on their own. Maybe they just leased on to someone who will allow them to book freight themselves. This is all going to be a very new game for everyone. This is what dictates how much money you can make. This is a new thing for some people who have never had to do this before, that are just now getting on their own authority or leased onto someone who will actually let them book their own freight. A lot of people have never dealt with load brokers. I was one of them. I drove for 8 years before I ever had to call a broker. So there's a few things that you need to know about dealing with freight brokers. The number one thing to know is memorize your MC number. You're going to get asked this all the time. This is your identifier until you know someone personally, or enough, you've called them enough to where they know who you are by name and company. They're going to ask for your MC number, whether it be at the beginning of the phone call, in the middle, at the end. You're going to be asked for it. It's best to just know it instead of having to thumb it through your phone and look it up or find paperwork or whatever. Before you even call a broker, if you're using a factoring company, I've used 3 different ones, and every single one of them has a way to pull a credit check, whether it be a website, whether it be an app. I don't know if there's any that you would have to call directly. I've never experienced that, but that would kind of be unfortunate depending on what time zone you're in and what time zone they're in. A lot of brokers operate by their own time zone. A lot of brokers are regional. Remember that whenever you see one that you've never seen before, but you also happen to be in an area you don't really run that much, don't write them off. They're probably pretty consistent in that area. So now that you've found a load, your broker's good through credit, and you're ready to make the phone call, what I do when I call is I always call the same way. I say, this is Ricky with Load Mizer. I was calling about a load you guys had posted on Truck Stop, DAT. Be vague, and be vague on purpose. There is a reason for that. That reason is you're basically developing a character check. The words out of that broker's mouth when they answer you about what you just said is going to frame the rest of the conversation. It could be polite, it could be rude, you could get transferred. Basically what you're doing is you're letting them set the tone for the conversation. Now, your tone should always remain the same. You don't know that could be one person at that brokerage. That could be that person's brokerage. You don't know, and there's really no way to know, and it doesn't really matter. Be the same when you call all the time. Don't let them dictate how you handle the conversation. Be professional, be polite. If you're running off load boards, this is how you make money. You want to treat this like a relationship. It really doesn't matter how they handle it. It might dictate that load. You know, if somebody answers the phone and they're rude, you're probably not going to go with it. Chances are, sometimes if you haven't had luck finding freight, you're probably already frustrated when you call. But anyway, don't let them change the way that you conduct your business. Anytime you call a broker about a posted load that doesn't have a rate, always leave yourself an out in conversation and let them pretty much give that to you. Most of the time they will. They'll give you the details of the load. They'll start saying what it is, where it picks up, where it's from. Sometimes they give you crazy appointment schedules. Most of the time they're wide open, but sometimes they'll say, if you're picking up a load on Thursday, but it can't deliver till Tuesday, don't interrupt them. Let them go ahead and finish their speech and all that. But they'll give you outs along the way. If they say it's tarp, but don't specify how big the tarps are. A lot of times it'll be 6 or 8 foot. Just say you only have 4 footers, so that's not going to fly. Whatever. Just kind of leave yourself an out there, because most of the time at the end they'll tell you how much it's for, what they're offering, what kind of rate they're offering for that load. That is 98% of whether you want to take that load or not. Now, a lot of times you never really know what they got the load for and how they're offering it. Sometimes if it's obscene, a full truckload going, from a good area to a good area. If everything kind of syncs up, but the rate's a little weird, they're probably clipping it quite a bit. If that's all they're offering and it's nowhere close to what you need, just kind of, go on with the conversation, or, let me see if I can line anything up and I'll call you back or whatever. And that when you hang up, you're not hurting their feelings. They're going on as usual, just like whenever they tell you, that, oh, that load's covered, but I've got your information here. I'll call you if I find anything. You know that that's probably not going to happen. Now, it does sometimes, every once in a while. It's very rare. But that's kind of their nice way out, too. So just keep that in mind to leave yourself an out a nice way, in a nice way. You don't want to get rude. You don't want to laugh at the rate, even though you want to. You don't want to yell about the rate, even though you want to sometimes. I mean, it could be so comical you want to laugh, or you might die a little inside. It depends on where you're at that day. But definitely never be rude. Never burn bridges. Don't burn bridges. These companies, you might call one company 4 or 5 times, and every single time you call, it's like it's just a waste of time, really. But there'll be that one day to where you're out. They gave you what you needed. They were your moneymaker that day. You never know what the future is going to hold on that. And even if it does go per usual, if you call them and the load's a joke and you don't take it, so what? That was just a phone call. It didn't waste much of your time. Because you deal with a lot of different brokerages, you deal with a lot of different people, and there's going to be instances to where you deal with really nice people, and it's great to do business with. And even after you book the load and all that, and you might carry on a 5-10 minute conversation just about nothing. It's actually really nice. It's nice and refreshing. Most of the time it's strictly business, which is cool. I've got stuff to do. They've got stuff to do. That's fine. You'll deal with your rude people. Who hasn't dealt with that? How you handle it is up to you, but realize that you're a business now. You're not just you. So if, you can't have soft skin. It's game over for that. And then you're going to run into instances to where you deal with people that you can't understand on the phone, whether it be their accent, whether it be background noise. I've talked to brokerages that sound like they're at a festival or something. I can't understand what they're, and see, here's the thing. If you can't ask them to email you, if there's no correspondence like that, don't do business with that. The reason being is if you can't understand the details of everything, you don't want to be committing to it, signing your name to it. You don't want to make that your obligation. So after you get load details and after you talk to them for a little bit, find out what's going on, where, when, all that, if that's even necessary. A lot of loads are open-ended. Sometimes they'll even ask you when you can get it there. But when it comes to the money, sometimes they'll give you a rate. Sometimes they'll ask you what you want for it. Now, if this is clearly on you, you're setting the bar. That's what you've done. Set it high. All they can do is say no. They're not going to hang up on you. I mean, even if it's ridiculous and they say no, I mean, you could just laugh it off or whatever. Whenever you're offering your services, you want to definitely not sell yourself short. Make it what you need. Make it not only just what you need, make it what you want. Because you're the one that has to run this. You're responsible for it. And if you have the option to tell them what you want for it, tell them what you want for it. The worst they can say is no. That's it. Or they'll counter offer you, which is perfectly fine. You can counter offer them too. We can play that game all day long. Nobody's going to get hurt or offended. It's fine. But if the rate is posted, ask for more. Sometimes they always say, is there any wiggle room? Is there any way we could do it for this or that? Is there any way that we can add $50 to it, even 25? You guys, you do that for every single load that you book. You might not get it on all of them, but you're going to slowly just end up, that's going to start paying for things. It'll pay for, food every once in a while. It'll start paying bills at the end of a month if you get it on a regular basis. You don't know how much they have in that load. If they actually tell you how much they have in that load, that's probably not how much they have in that load. But after the negotiation's done, after you have a set price, try to get a direct number. Try to get an email address. You're probably going to get one anyway when they send you a rate con, which is a rate confirmation. That's what you're signing to commit yourself to that load. Ask them about load lists. Sometimes they'll have a mass spam email list. If you get enough of them, sometimes they're kind of annoying, but it's better to have way more options than none at all. You'll eventually get to the point to where people will call you, people will email you. You have brokers and businesses getting a hold of you for freight instead of you having to find and grind all day to look for loads, search out loads. There's nothing available. Okay, when you don't have to worry about availability, you're doing good. And that's where everybody wants to get to. That's how you start to really make it. I hope that helps a little bit for anybody thinking about this. Memorize your MC number. Don't be rude. Be vague at the beginning to frame the conversation. Negotiate your price. You, at the end of the day, no matter what their rate is, you're determining what you're hauling freight for. It's all up to you. If you can't find anything, that's within your parameters. If you have to change your parameters to make it, we all do that. That's not a bad thing. Stuff happens. I mean, that freight's very seasonal, and so are rates. It's not always going to be feast. There's going to be famine too. So you've got to take the good with the bad. As long as the average is working for you, then you're doing it right. So I hope that helps, guys. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I was going to talk a little bit about carrier packets, but I think I'm going to do a whole video on that. There's quite a bit to get into on that, and I think that that'll be better suited for its own separate video. This video is just kind of a touch on how to deal with freight brokers for the first time. So I'll try to update pretty often. I'm not going to set a schedule because I don't want to feel bad for not being able to stick to it. So if you like this information and you want to see more, go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll try, like I said, I'll try to pump out videos anytime that I can. If you guys have questions about anything, let me know. And then I'll actually build videos based on what I'm getting asked about.